One day, a couple kids were hanging out in a house, and then they started playing hide and seek. So one kid tried to hide in the basement. He leaned up against a brick wall, but they fell in, and there was a little cave. He crawled through the cave, and there was a rocket that looked like a candy cane. He crawled inside, and it launched him all the way to the North Pole. He had no.
And it launched him, and he landed in Santa's factory. And he'd never seen such a thing. So he tried something. He was thinking of a disguise. But he didn't think he could be an elf because they're too little. And he didn't think he could be Santa because he doesn't know what Santa looks like. So what he did is he crawled anywhere that the elves couldn't see him. And finally he hit a conveyor belt and stopped the whole factory. Santa came out and said, "Who shut down the factory?" And then all the little elves said it. Well, one little elf said it was him, and he pointed over to the boy.
The boy was terrified and quickly ran away. He didn't want to be caught in Santa's factory. He all of a sudden he had a thought, maybe he could get coal for Christmas, as they say. Of course, he didn't really actually think that was going to happen. Well, maybe a little. As he was running down the halls, an alarm went off. So all of a sudden, a ginormous candy cane stuck out of the wall, almost hitting him.
The candy cane, when it pointed right to his cheek. He was so terrified he ran even faster. Santa came on his side with all his little elves. And one of the little elves said, "There he is!" And the chase was on. And they went out of the factory. And finally they ran into his friends who had finally found the little jet rocket. And he said to his friends, "Well, I went to the factory, but now I have no idea where Santa is." So when he turned around, to point to the North Pole, it disappeared. And he's like, but I promise, I know it was there. That's the mystery this is a different person. That's the mystery that we have to find out all together.
The boy walked off to think about ideas of what had happened to the factory. He was walking and came across a patch of thin ice. He stomped on it. The ice cracked, but when it cracked, he found out that there was a giant, enormous hole underneath the ice. He was going to go get his friends, but tripped and fell down the hole. He was falling until he finally hit ground. Lucky for him, there was a candy-coated cushion right where he fell. And to his surprise, there was the factory. There was the factory. It had gone underground, and it seemed that it was moving, that it was hiding from his friends. Wherever they, if they were near, it would go somewhere else.
And when he finally walked over to the factory, Santa walked out and said, "You young men are in big trouble." But when the boy said, "I'm sorry, I was playing hide and seek with my friends at a house. When I leaned up against a brick wall, I found a little tunnel, and I crawled through it, and I found one of your candy cane rockets, which led me here into this mess. Santa said, "Well, then you are a very lucky boy, and very, very lucky indeed. You can stay here and maybe help me with some naughty kids." "Sure," he said.
Meanwhile, up top, the boys' friends were staring at the hole with scratching their chins and asking, where did that hole come from? One of them leaned closer and then fell. When he hit the ground, the factory disappeared once again.
I won't do it anymore.
Meanwhile, the boy was trying to blab at them, saying that it was right there. So they somehow managed to get back up. And when they did, there was a ginormous cave in front of them that had not been there before.
When I walked through it, it led to the factory. The friends were like, "But I thought you were kidding about all that Santa stuff." And the boy said, "Well, now you know. You should believe in people." And that's should this be the end?
No.
Oh, pretty close.
Okay. And they said, and so they went inside to the factory. There was all these toys, and when he went in, the boy ran over to Santa and said, "Hey Santa, I was trying to tell my friends about the factory, but they didn't believe me. So I brought them here to show them the factory."
The Santa greeted his friends, but after he had greeted them, his voice grew more stern. I wanted to hide the factory from your friends because I figure if one boy knows that I exist, that's good enough. I don't want a whole gang of people knowing that I exist. But anyways, you can catch a ride back home when the elves start preparing the sled.
Santa said, one of the boys said, "But why did what happened to the sled?" And Santa's like, well, when I've never come for like a long time floating at Christmas, is because my elves by accident, when I was sick, one of my friends, Jack Frost, was riding the sled, and by accident he went up so high that he touched the moon, and it broke the sled. There's a big ginormous hole in it. "Wow, I didn't know that the sled could go up that high," said one of the boys. Santa said, "It sure can."
Then the boy pointed to one of his friends. That friend's name was Matt. The boy said, "Matt is really good with engineering. He'll probably be able to fix that hole in a jiffy." And he was right. But in the less than an hour, Matt had fixed the hole. They were ready for takeoff.
Santa said, one of the boys said, "But Santa, aren't you gonna need the sled for Christmas?" He said, "Yes, I am. But one time you can come and visit me someday, and when that day comes, you can visit your grandpa. He lives here. He's been hiding for years because he never wants you to come back, because he wants you to have your own adventures by yourself and figure out what the world is like.
The end.
Soph, do you have anything to say? No?
Say bye-bye. Say
Say
bye-bye.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Say have a good night. Can you say have a good night?
Have a good